seen before, and many of us, hopefully nothing we ever see again. One of the most important things, though, for our community is to continue to work together. I know there's a lot of fear and a lot of frustration out there, but it's important for us to come together to make good decisions to protect everybody who is a stakeholder in this community. The decisions we make, we don't take lightly. I do want to take a couple minutes to thank our mayor. I know he's been working very, very hard, and he's been communicating with the other mayors all over the state, as well as with the governor, to make sure that Brigantine is always in the best possible position and to always advocate for where we are. What a lot of people might not understand is they see communities that are just making decisions, and some of those decisions aren't in line with the law. Most communities are being asked to change those decisions. The governor in his executive orders has, one, repealed any local decisions that violate his executive order, and two, has set it up so that local governments can only make decisions and pass restrictions that are in close alignment to what he has dictated for the state of New Jersey. For us, we're working as hard as we can. I know we got the executive order and some information late Sunday night, and we're working on it to make sure that we can continue to do the things that we do to protect Brigantine. This ordinance this resolution that we're looking to pass today basically is about stopping vacationers right now. As you heard, vacation and tourism is the backbone of our community, and we are so grateful for all of our summer guests and all of our summer residents who come down here. But the governor has ordered that people stay home. The governor has ordered that people not move around, and we want to make sure that unless people have a legitimate reason to be here, that those are the only people that are here. When everything's opened up again, we welcome everybody back. But the most important thing for our entire community is everybody's health and safety. And that's really what this council is committed to doing, making sure that all of our families and everyone, not just in our community, but in the state of New Jersey, is healthy and safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. Councilwoman Bugh.
All right.
Karen, hang on. You're muted.
Don't touch that. Don't touch it.
All right, try and unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Karen.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many people up and dressed this time of the morning. As I take my daily walks around my first ward, it is eerily quiet. I see an occasional walker, jogger, dog walker, bike rider. It is really obvious that people are staying in their houses or staying on their property, because it is very, like I said, it's eerily quiet out here. It's always nice to see a smiling face as I walk by. People come out on their porch, wave, and we'll have a little conversation. And it seems like the kids are doing well. During school hours, I don't see any kids out. Occasionally they'll come out for recess, run around the block a little bit and then go back in, finish their schoolwork. It's just, I think everybody seems to be following everybody's orders to shelter in place and stay by yourselves, and let's beat this thing as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Councilman Paul Lettieri.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We look forward to returning to business as usual and opening back up, but we all know we must be diligent and we must comply with the governor's stay-at-home order, and also our resolution of today, which is in the best interests of the homeowners. And I say homeowners, I don't mean residents and non-residents. I'm talking about homeowners here in Brigantine. Okay. The faster we can do this, the faster we can accomplish this task and make Brigantine a safer place. I have one question that I'd like to pose. Why are we waiting till May 1st to institute this when other shore towns have already done it weeks ahead of us?
It's actually April 5th. If
Okay.
you read the ordinance, it starts April 5th.
Okay, I got that now.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Councilman Dennis Haney?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. First off, I just wanted to say that in a little, I guess, a little addendum of sorts to what Mike was speaking about regarding the online rentals. This past week or so, since we passed that regarding the online marketplaces, since we passed that resolution, I should say, not ordinance, there's a lot of just I heard by word of mouth and just talking to a couple of friends over the phone and all. There's a lot of like inaccuracies and rumor flying around on social media and other, just other mediums of communication, what have you. And regarding what we were able to do last week, that was the only, at that time, that was the only option that we were permitted to do. So everybody in the public needs to know that. There were just certain stipulations. It just mentioned the one regarding online marketplaces and the other one was municipal and county parks. We would have been irresponsible to our citizenry had we not passed that. Certain people spoke about other methods of renting places, or maybe there was some almost borderline like accusations that that were some type of favoritism was maybe being shown, but that was not the case whatsoever. And just want to make that eminently clear to everybody that we just acted on what we were able to do, and we did in the best interests and what we were permitted to do regarding that resolution. And regarding what we're going to do here today, on Executive Order 103, which was passed March 9th, the governor directed the Colonel of the State Police to be the State Director of Emergency Management and to take whatever measures he deemed necessary, falling within his guidelines, to effectuate proper responses to things, because everything is always in flux, like the governor said, and regularly there's going to be changes to things as needed. So with that said, and what we're about to discuss further here today, this is regarding to further up and follow up on this rental situation. I just think it's a good example of the unitary management from the top on down to help all the towns, particularly our shore towns, with just responsible measures to guard the safety and health of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. You're absolutely correct. We don't, I know I don't govern by Facebook or anything like that. And we'd have to have the authority to be able to do these things. And we have to wait for the governor to give us that authority. So thank you for those comments.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Councilman DeLucre?
Thank you, Mayor. And
Yeah, no problem, Rick.
thank my fellow council members for their comments. All very well taken. For the public, I don't have camera capabilities, so you have to take on faith that this is me and that I'm looking really good right now.
Yeah, because we can't see you.
Let me pick up where Dennis had left off to maybe to start with a little clarification. In terms of our authority as a local government, it derives in these kind of situations purely from the governor's office. So it's from the top down. We did not have the authority prior to our last meeting even to regulate online marketing. We were given that authority by an executive order and we acted on it because that was the prudent thing to do. Since then, a new administrative order issued, and the administrative order for the first time gave local governments the power to impose restrictions without telling us what restrictions we might be expected or required to. In fact, there are none that are required, but it gives us a discretionary authority to do that. Based on that, we have had a number of internal discussions, and the proposed action that's in front of us, it's painful, but it's absolutely necessary.
My microphone's muted. We're going to go to the seawall. You want to go?
Just that.
Okay, you got stepped on there, Rick.
That's right. We're not getting Zoom bombed.
Yeah.
The action that we're
I would like
to take today,
you can better at least with the, okay.
I think is critical because for all we don't know about the coronavirus, there are several things which we absolutely do know and that are beyond this point. Number one being it's highly contagious and it is
I don't want to rush
easily
through Jonathan.
easily
I
spread
wouldn't know.
to large numbers of people by proximity. Social distancing, we know, is working. The projections for a number of cases and number of deaths are, and we hope this is accurate, but the projections are that if the social distancing that's already been done is augmented and carried out, then we're going to see a better result than maybe we expected even a couple weeks ago. That's where this comes from. If there was another way to do it, you know, I would be all for it. But the reality is we have, I think, a duty to the people in Brigantine to do whatever we can to make it possible for social distancing to be implemented and to work. And that's just not consistent with allowing influxes of people. And it doesn't matter where they're coming from. It's not aimed at New York or Pennsylvania or anywhere else. The reality is, geographically, where we are, that's where most of our visitors come from. But we don't know who has the coronavirus. You know, so many people are asymptomatic and it has a long latency period. We should assume that it's already in Brigantine and has been in Brigantine, we should assume it is everywhere. With that said, let's do the one thing we know we can do, which is to maintain social distancing. And to that end, I think this is a really well-targeted and well-thought-out approach. And I would point out too, it's open-ended. We're not committed to this for any particular period of time. We're going to monitor the situation, and we have the authority, you know,
That's correct.
when we reach that point, to modify this or to vacate it entirely. But for right now, I think this is the move we need to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. What I'm going to do now is open it up to the public. Jim, you want to get ready to do that? I just want to tell you we have 2 cases that is reported that they have the corona disease in Brigantine, the virus. Everybody's doing well that we know of. You know, that came from the Board of Health. And one other thing, that the seawall, the bird sanctuary, the road to the bird sanctuary after that fiasco last week, and the cove will be closed as of today. Jim instructed John Doring to go ahead and close those off. And we're trying to keep people to the front beach, better patrolling with our police officers and everything. And quite frankly, when that gets too crowded, that will be closed too, but hopefully not for a while. You know, as the weather gets nice, I'm sure there'll be more people down the beach. So we'll keep an eye on that and keep everybody up to date. But Jim, you want to open it up to the public?
Okay, yes, Mayor. Lynn, if you could unmute yourself.
I did.
Okay, so what we're going to do here for the public, ladies and gentlemen that are in here, I ask that you wait until Lynn acknowledges you before you start speaking, because otherwise we're going to have everybody on top of each other and we won't get anything done. So
Keep everybody muted too.
yeah, everybody stay muted until you're ready to speak. Say your name, wait for the clerk to acknowledge you, and then you may continue. So Lynn, take it, it's yours.
Okay, I'd just like you to state your name and address for the record, as we do in all council meetings. And we do limit it to 5 minutes. Hopefully, with this many people, I'm not sure if it will take 5 minutes, but there you go. Can you hear me, Jim?
I hear you.
Okay. So I don't have anybody coming up on the screen as wanting to
Speak.
speak, yes.
Does anybody from the public want
Oh, I
to
see a Lynn
speak?
Murray up there waving.
Okay.
This is Jim Clark. I don't know if you can hear me. My address
Yes.
is 714 West Shore Drive in Brigantine. Permanent residence up in Cherry Hill. My only concern is, I think, the clear end dates and what that would be. I'm in full support. We're not renting to anybody. We've canceled renters coming down because it's the right thing to do for all of us, as has been said. But clear end dates would be good. And then also the ability for us to rent July outwards. So we're not running in June. We think this will continue, but if we block the online access to VRBO, let's say, we don't use Airbnb, that would then impact our July, August, September rentals. And how can we address that?
Problem is, Jim, is the virus doesn't give us a clear date when it's going to leave us. That's why we kept this open-ended. So we like to give you enough time. And when we see the virus, peak and come down, we'll make a decision at that time. We'll like to give you a week's notice to make sure that you can get your renters back. I'm sure once people are able to rent again, they'll be flocking down here just to get out of their house wherever they're from. But the opening end date has to stay until the virus goes away.
Understood, Mayor Simpson. I think just as a follow-up to that, are we allowed to enter into rental contracts with people out in the future? We don't know when it's going to end, with cancellation clauses where we would give them 100% of the money back. We will not let anyone into the city, into our house as a renter until given the all clear, but to block our ability to enter into future contracts, I think would be crippling to individuals.
I would have no problem with that, Jim, just as long as you have that clause in there, like we do with our some of the stuff we do in our council meetings. There's an asterisk next to it. So I wouldn't have a problem just as long as the person understands it could be canceled because of the crisis we have. And that would be the only reason you guys would have to cancel, so I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't want people going away.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Robert Beloga?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I
Yes,
can,
Robert.
yes.
This is Robert Beloga. I live 4901 Harbor Beach Boulevard. I'm wondering, can you explain exactly what is open? I know you said the open beach, but can you describe more precisely what is open to walk or
The
exercise?
front beach from the seawall down to the jetty. That's an
That's
open beach,
perfect.
up to 1,500 feet to the state of New Jersey's public park.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
I think Mrs. Lynn Murray is up. Ms. Murray?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, thanks. I just wanted a little clarification. I have a rental unit property in Brigantine, and I completely understand the need to not have short-term visitation right now. Is this being addressed as well through the real estate offices in town and other avenues of renting short-term?
that's
besides
correct.
online?
That's correct. It's I asked some real estates that we were having a special meeting, so they understood that they can't rent. Arm length transactions will not be able to rent, or the ability to rent. So that means any person to person is not allowed to rent, and at this particular time. We're not saying you can't take a contract in the month of July or the month of June, but with the speculation that it could be voided at any time, because I don't know how long this is going. That's why we're having an open end to this ordinance.
Sure,
Or I'm sorry.
that makes complete sense, and I'm glad that it's across the board and not just for online.
No, it's for everybody.
Right,
Everybody.
absolutely, it makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
My next question is, what constitutes a short-term rental? I've heard. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up. I know.
I'm sorry. I'm wondering what constitutes a short-term rental. I've heard people say that it's anything under 30 days, which leads me to believe that a 30-day or longer rental, like a yearly rental or 2-month, 3-month rental would be permissible. Is that correct?
I believe long-term rental where people move into town for, say, a 12 month. I'm going to ask our attorney, Fred Cerny, to tell us what constitute a short-term rental and go from there.
All right,
Fred, you there?
Lynn, can I have your name and address for the record before you go?
Sure, it's Lynn Murray.
Uh-huh.
My Brigantine address is 245 34th Street South.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry I didn't provide that before.
That's okay.
Fred, are you there? Jimmy,
I'm
is he
here,
muted?
He's here.
Can you tell us what constitutes a short-term rental?
Yeah, there are court decisions that deal with this issue that did not arise under the current circumstances that we have in front of us right now. But the historic analysis usually breaks it out to something in the range of 6 months. So that once you clear that 180-day timeline, that would be considered a longer term rental. Underneath that, the 170, 180 days is where the cases have basically said that that is short term. So that we should probably use that as a reference number right now until the courts say something further on it. And if the mayor and council would like, we can go back and take a tighter look at that. The information I'm sharing now is based upon work that we historically have done, and I'm not adverse to freshening this for the nature of this discussion.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
I would like you to take a look at that, Fred, and clarify if it's 180 days, 120 days, so we have some standards.
We'll have that for you in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Does your original resolution have a 30-day requirement in it? I thought I'm not sure where that came from, but I've been hearing 30 days as being the.
No, not that I know of. Fred, is that correct? All I have
No,
is,
the resolution itself does not have a timeline in it. The resolution basically calls out the administrative order 2020-8, which is the authority, where our authority resides. Our authority springs from
I'm going to eat
that
these words,
administrative.
but what about the 50-mile-an-hour winds?
okay. Everybody mute if they're not talking, please mute their mic, please.
Yeah, it's as I was saying, Mayor, specifically that kind of information is not in the resolution. The resolution cites the authority for us to enter into this resolution, and then the resolution goes on to further say that the emergency management coordinator and the city manager will administer this and impose such restrictions as we deem appropriate. But the resolution itself does not capture any timelines.
Okay. Hope that answered your question, Lynn.
It does. I just have one more, and then I'll relinquish my time. I had entered into a lease contract with a family that is building a house. They're currently in seasonal winter rental situation in Ventnor, and they're being told they have to move. And last month, I entered into a contract with them, which is under the 180 days, but that's before this resolution came into place. So I'm wondering what to do at this point.
When's the start date?
It's mid-May.
I would tell them you find something else or get a long contract with them.
A long contract meaning 180
over 180 days.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Next, Jim.
Jim, I don't see anybody else coming up. Is there somebody waiting to speak?
I have a question. If I could jump in.
Okay, what is your name and address, please?
My name's Tyler Barrett. I'm at 1013 West Brigantine Avenue.
Thank you.
I think I have the same question that a couple people I see on the chat have. But before I get to that, thank you everybody for the time today, board members and everybody, appreciate it. I think of people that have second properties in the area. I'm one of them. This is a second property for me. I do not rent to anybody. It is a personal property. But as many of us probably have not been down for the winter, I've had work being done. To my knowledge, there's no restrictions that I cannot come to my property, do maintenance, realizing that, businesses are not open, people should not be going to those. Certain parts of the beach are not open. But is there any restriction at this point for people that can prove ownership of a property and be there to do the certain things to maintain their own property?
There's no restriction at this time. But I have asked the governor's office to come up with something because the influx of people coming into Brigantine, we have approximately 10,000 people year round, and it goes up to 30, 35, 40,000 people. And that would put a strain on us down here. So right now, you're allowed to come down here as long as you're a property owner. I know Councilman Reardon has rung up asking for a 14-day quarantine from anybody from outside the area coming down to the shore, so or Atlantic County. So at this time, you're allowed to come and go as you please.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Todd. Anybody else want to speak?
I said, Mayor, can I just say something about Thomas?
Wait, we're going to have discussion in a minute, Mike. I just want to see if anybody else wants to come up and speak, and then I'm going to close the public portion. And then we'll have discussion between council members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
I'm Annie Webb. We're new homeowners, haven't slept a night in my house yet, and I'd like to. We're 202 Vernon. My question was, and I'm very sorry I missed the beginning of the meeting, if somebody can just recap this prohibition on rentals, and we don't rent ours either, so I wouldn't rent. But is it for all rentals, or earlier in the week it was talked about that you were eliminating VRBO and Airbnb, but realtors could rent? So is it now all rentals?
It's all rentals, including arm's length transactions between two persons.
Okay.
So it's all rentals up to 180 days, which we're considering that's a short-term rental. We're just trying to get through the crisis, and as soon as the crisis is over, we'll open it back up for rentals and everything like that. I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that Brigantine or anybody on this council or on this government believes that we don't like out-of-towners and everything like that. I made my living with out-of-town people and stuff like that. I think they're great people, and it's a plus to our beautiful island here. But I got to take care, and council has to take care of the residents in Brigantine that live here right now, where they don't have a chance to go to their second home someplace else or whatever. So we have to take, I believe we have to take these steps to ensure our safety down here. And
Thank you for that answer. I appreciate that. As long as it's no rentals of any kind and homeowners can still come and comply
That's
with
correct.
all of the rules.
Homeowners still can come.
14-day quarantine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have my hand up. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, I'm Susan Scattergood. I'm an owner and year-round resident. I live at 305 West Beach. And I want to first thank everybody for taking the time to do this. It's been very helpful and informative. And also I'd like to know where will we have access to the current ordinance that's been put in effect so we can review it? And how will we get updates to this ordinance, for instance, about the rentals?
Well, you can go on our website for Brigantine Beach, and the ordinance will be on there. The updates will be on there too, but we'll make notification through the local newspapers, and I usually get on the radio and speak about what's going on in Brigantine, so you can have updates there too.
Is the ordinance available at this time? I'll go on and look, but.
Yes,
The
it
ordinance,
is. Yes, it
ordinance
is.
is on there. Yes,
And it's a resolution.
resolution. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Susan, is your last name Scattergood? Did I hear that correctly?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, just as a point of interest, Mayor, along with the website and the local media, we will also be broadcasting this out on our social media accounts, the official city Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram.
And Channel 97?
Yes, and Channel 97, there'll be slides.
Okay. The local TV channel is Channels 97. So, anybody else out there in the public want to speak?
Yes, I'd like to speak. My name is
Okay.
Andrew Whitehead, 3319 Ocean Avenue. When are we going to revisit this conversation again on when we're going to reinstitute the short-term rentals as this goes into effect, just so we don't have, so there's not uncertainty going forward, or we can kind of revisit this conversation again as things progress?
We have a council meeting every 2 weeks. I'm sure we'll be speaking on it at that time. And the local newspapers usually do articles and stuff. Jim Bennett will give us an update on how the Corona is going, if it hit its peak, and other areas where people come from. That's what we have to really see, if the peak is over and it's declining, and then we'll make a decision at that time. Jim Bennett's our city manager.
Andrew, we will be looking at this literally daily.
Yeah.
We have substantial changes or updates. I'll be meeting and talking with the members of council. And the way that this ordinance is written, once council comes to a decision, I can put something out immediately. So if the mayor is satisfied with the flow of the disease, we can change it up at any given time. And that's the way the state wrote the administrative order.
Administrator. And Mike Reardon gives me updates on how many people have the Corona each day, and sorry to say, but the deaths from the Corona. So.
One other question. I do rent my property out. We are still allowed to rent to essential personnel such as nurses or doctors that may be coming in to service the area.
Yes, they're exempt from that.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Andrew, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your last name either.
Yeah, he's quiet.
It's Whitehead, Whitehead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Let me scroll through the list, Mayor, and see if anybody's
Okay.
paying our attention. And I don't see anybody signaling us, but once again, as we've said before, if you want to speak, please unmute your microphone and address yourself to the city clerk.
Let's give it a minute or two so everybody has a chance to talk. I can
This
see
is
here.
Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, this is Brian Holtzinger, 323A 43rd Street South.
Thank you.
I rent my property and rely on that income to pay the taxes and utilities, et cetera. Is there any consideration to delaying the May 1st tax payments or deferring them till later in the summer, considering that we would be losing all this rental income?
Correct. I just got off the phone with the governor's office Wednesday. We have a weekly conference call, and every shore town is asking for the same thing. The governor and actually your state representative has to make a resolution up to change the time of the tax payments. And so you got to reach out to your local, yours is Chris Brown, and then we're trying to get it moved to the next cycle without penalty or interest. So we have been working on that, but there's nothing confirmed yet.
So there'll be some update, maybe the next meeting or something.
Correct. You know, every time there's a new ordinance or a order that comes out or resolution that comes out, we'll get it out to the public, and you know, hopefully we can move that tax deadline to the next cycle without penalty or interest. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the public portion. Gave ample time, and I'm going to open it up to City Council for discussion on this matter of Administrative Order 2020/8. So, Vince, you want to start us off?
I'll defer my time right now. I'd like to hear what the rest of council has to say.
Okay, Mike? Mike, you there?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I got it.
Why don't we just go in order, first, second, third, fourth, and then we'll speak like we do in a very normal council meeting.
Okay, well, Karen's the next one anyway, so. Karen?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. This is absolutely necessary. We need to protect our people in Brigantine, in our shore communities. It is what all the other shore communities are doing, and I think it's a great idea. And we need to go with what the governor's recommendations. And hopefully, in a few weeks or a month or so, we'll be able to start opening things up again. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Paul?
I'll just reiterate what I said before. I said we're all looking to get this thing over with and get back up, but we all need to be diligent. We all need to follow the rules and regulations, and hopefully we'll get through this together.
Thank you, Paul. Dennis? You there, Dennis?
There we go. Yes.
There you go.
Just exactly what Paul just said. I just also want to just reiterate my comments from before, what I said. And I also want to second all the commentary of all my other fellow councilmen and you, Mayor. It was all good stuff. And it's great to have this dialogue that we have going on with all of our citizens as well, that love our town. Second homes, longtime residents, people born and raised here, whoever they might be. I did have would I be able to address Mrs. Webb, Ms. Webb, Annie Webb? Could you unmute for a second? Just had a brief question. Right before you stopped speaking, you just mentioned, understanding what was going on with the rentals, and you just mentioned the travel quarantine as well. Are you just aware that that's just a resolution that you're not under? There's no quarantine right as of now.
Oh, gotcha. No quarantine. If we were to come, we don't have to quarantine for 14 days.
There's no quarantine. Mike could kind of fill you in a little bit more on it, or the mayor. But as it stands now, that was just something, a resolution, a formal expression of the opinion of council, and it went up to the county for further discussion. So,
okay. Thanks. Thanks for the clarification.
I just might want to follow up as soon as I'm done. The only other thing I would just want to say is that Rick also spoke very well about regarding what we're about to do here today. And he mentioned the fact that we were unable to we were only able to last week move on the online marketplace regarding the rentals and things of that nature. Rick said that that was not available to us our last council meeting, and that is 100% accurate. It was on March 21st that Executive Order 108 was issued. That executive order was issued by the governor, and that only gave us that one sole option to deal with online rentals. Now that we have the other option available to us, we're moving on it immediately. So that's all I have to say, and I don't know if anyone else wants to speak to this way, but thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Rick?
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to thank everyone who had comments to offer on this subject and related subjects. The only thing I'd add, I guess, at this point is to say that if we could give certainty, we would, but that's simply not within our power, really anyone's power at the moment. But we can, or the public can be assured that the mayor and council, our manager, our emergency management people are on top of this every day and in touch with all of the various authorities from the governor's office on down to monitor what's happening and to stay on top of responses to it in a way that best protects the people of our town. And I think this is a big piece at this exact moment in time of accomplishing that. As has been mentioned a couple of times, it's not permanent, certainly, and we have the flexibility to revisit this at any point, and you can be assured that we will be monitoring it, and when it's appropriate, we're going to revisit it because we understand that it's definitely a hardship on a lot of people. Unfortunately, a necessary hardship, but that's what we have. The other point I would make too, I guess, is that, and maybe a technical point, but so that people aren't confused, we as a council don't have the power to void or otherwise affect anyone's contracts. What this does, in effect, is kind of puts contracts in a state of suspension, if you will. And as I believe was mentioned earlier, Andy responded to a question. People can certainly enter into new contracts, but
sure,
the thing you can't do is to actually occupy any of these properties pursuant to a contract until, such time as the order is modified appropriately. But for now, you could certainly, people who are looking forward to the summer season or after for, possibly renting their properties, you certainly enter into contracts and negotiate agreements to do that. But you can't implement those contracts until the situation changes. With that, I thank you.
Thank you, Rick. That's correct. And no contracts will be, we're not talking about contracts. We're talking about the ability to rent your home or condo, like I said before. So Rick said it absolutely correct. So Mike, we're coming back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. And once again, thanks. I want to thank all the public, the people that asked the questions today and the people that have zoomed in here and all my fellow council people. It's a very good ordinance that the governor is allowing us to put in place here. So I can tell you that I support it. And, just to go back, just to say it again, like Dennis said, we didn't make up the ordinance about the short-term rentals and who would affect it and all. That came from the governor. So despite some of the misinformation and direct lies that some people put out there, all our information, we're very, very transparent. It's on the city website. Each and every one of us is willing to take your emails, calls. My number's in the back of the Brigantine Times every week. You can call me direct if you have questions. So that's that. I just want to say something else real quick. The test center is opening Monday for the public. Right now, it opened up for the first responders out at the Hamilton Mall. Also, business people, I've been talking to business people, and if this goes on much longer, they're very, very concerned about if they'll be able to stay afloat. So the SBA site, Small Business Administrator site, our Chamber of Commerce site on Facebook have a lot of good information there for some of the different programs, the payroll protection and disaster loan program. So, and the money runs out unless they add more money. So that's that. that's that now. So, and one other thing, when the governor amended the order for this ordinance or resolution today, he did that on Sunday. So we talked about it right away. We gave it to Fred Cerny, our lawyer. He had to make it up and write it up. And then we have to give out 48 hours notice to the public before we have our meeting. So that takes time. So you may have seen some other towns act on it right away. We had to do what we had to do as our form of government. So if people have that question, why wasn't this done sooner than today? That's the reason for that. So just other than that, thanks again, and hope and pray we'll all get through this together sooner than later. One last thing, and this is it, I swear. I want to thank our freeholder board at the county government. They're doing a lot of work up there pertaining to this. And I just want to thank the chairman, Frank Formica, the county executive, Dennis Levinson, our freeholder, Rich Stace, and Amy Gatto for talking about our resolution that we passed along to them after the last meeting about the 14-day temporary travel restriction quarantine. They brought it up and they said they're going to meet in the subcommittee and discuss it further. So if these numbers keep rising, we might have to do some more things. So that's just a report and an update on our resolution that we all worked on. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Vince?
I'd like to thank all the members of the public for joining in today. There's a lot of really good questions that were asked, and I think it's important to get out accurate information, and also to thank our city manager and our offices of emergency management. You know, we've really been trying to put out as accurate information as we can in a fast and timely fashion. One of the things people can do is you can always check on our city's Facebook page and on our city's website. Our manager's doing a pretty good job of getting information out right away. As we said, and a lot of us said, I think the hardest thing about this is the uncertainty. You know, a lot of people have asked, like, you know, when's the end date, or when can things go back to normal? And that's just not something we know. You know, when you're dealing with a virus and you're dealing with something that doesn't go by a time clock, you know, decisions that are, you know, in the best interest, and you have to kind of see how things play out before you can finalize things. We are working with the governor's office and trying to follow the governor's lead on a lot of this to keep consistency. And one of the things I've seen too is, even though this has been something really hard, I think it's really put council in a position to really work together and to put a lot of our differences aside in order to do what's best for the community. And I think that's really, you know, a good lesson that all of us should take away from this, that no matter what political party you are, that the people of your community always have to come first. So thank you, everybody, for all that you've been doing to make our community safe.
Thank you, Vince. I just have to say that we must pass this it's a resolution with the effort of giving the city manager and our city attorney that somebody cannot backdate a contract or something like that, because everybody will backdate it and we'll have a bunch of renters here. So we have to have people to be able to null and void, can't null and void their contract, but null and void their ability of renting their property. So no matter if they have a contract or not, till the near future. And I understand, and believe me, I'm a property owner, I'm a businessman. I understand the hardship this puts on everybody that has a property that they can't rent it and then pay their mortgage and stuff. So like Mike said, there's programs out there. The federal government gets some money out of them to help you pay your rent and everything. And we'll continue to try to get the governor to pass resolution to move the May 1st tax deadline to the next quarter. So with this resolution today, I want to make sure that the ability of our city manager and our city attorney after this meeting, if we do pass this, has the ability to write up